Namaskara and welcome to another episode of UVCE Chronicles, an initiative of the UVCE Graduates Association. I'm Adrian and I'll be your host for this episode. Our guest may not have studied in UVCE, but he's definitely an integral part of the administration and the future of autonomous UVCE. From leading Tata Steel to leading an institution of eminence which has fostered some of the brightest minds in Karnataka, Mr. B. Muthuraman has done it all. Muthuraman sir, we're glad to have you on the show, and at Chronicles we believe that nothing beats a first-hand introduction. So can you give our listeners a brief overview about your journey so far?
First of all, thank you very much for having me on this program. In terms of introduction, my name is Muthuraman. I am 78. I was born in 1944 in a small village in Tanjore district of Tamil Nadu. I studied in Tamil medium school up to the secondary school leaving certificate. Then I studied in Madras Christian College, then in the Institute of Technology Madras, and then I joined Tata Steel in 1966. I had a program in INSEAD and in what is called CEDEP, Center for Center de-Education Permanente in France. And I worked in Tata Steel for 48 years. Starting from a graduate trainee in 1966 and ending with as vice chairman of Tata Steel in 2014. I retired, and then I came down to Bangalore. I'm settled down in Bangalore for the last 10 years now. I use my time to serve on some corporate boards, some business school boards, some universities like UVCE, and some NGO boards, and doing some social work. This would be my introduction.
All right. Thank you so much for that introduction, sir. So when and how did your association with UVCE begin? Had you heard of a UVCE, say, while you were studying in college?
Yeah, I've always heard of UVCE because it's one of the most well-known technical education institutions in the country. It is one of the earliest, founded in 1917. So it's about 106 years old now, and founded by Sir M. Visvesvaraya himself, who is probably the most eminent engineer India has ever produced and one of the best in the world. So I've always heard of it, and it has had an excellent reputation, and it's produced some wonderful people. Some of them I know, Dr. Adrian, for example, and some very eminent personalities in government and in the field of education, in engineering field and so on. I've always heard of UVCE, and I've had a very good opinion of UVCE.
Okay, sir. So when did you formally, associate yourself with UVCE? What was the first time you got a chance to associate with UVCE?
I think it was about 3 years ago when the government formed a committee headed by Professor Sadagopan, who was former director of IIIT Bangalore. Under Sadagopan's leadership, a committee was formed by the government of Karnataka to study the possibility of converting UVCE into an autonomous, independent university along the lines of Indian Institute of Technology, and over years make it to the high standards of IIT in terms of providing very high technical education in this country. I was a member of that committee, and as a member of the committee, I served the committee for about a year or year and a half. We had some 20 or 25 meetings over a period of about a year and a half or two, and we recommended as to how it can become an independent autonomous body, autonomous university, and our recommendation was accepted by the government. And then suddenly one day I got a call from the government, the higher education department, to say that we are appointing you as the chairman of UVCE. That's the first time I heard somebody told me that I am going to become the chairman of UVCE. That's how it happened. So this association of mine with UVCE started with a committee 3 years ago, and I've been the chairman of UVCE now from August 2022.
Yeah, and thanks to the committee's work now, UVC is autonomous. Now, there are a lot of things, powers, new initiatives that come with being autonomous. So, I think a lot of our alumni, say globally, who are maybe tuning in and maybe first time hearing about the autonomy, or a few students, prospective students who want to join the university, would like to know what exactly does it mean to be autonomous?
It's a journey. It's good. Just by announcing autonomous, nothing can become autonomous overnight. Nothing can become independent overnight. UVC has been part of and parcel of Bangalore University. It has been an affiliated college of Bangalore University for I think more than 50 years. So, and it has been announced by the Act of Assembly that UVC has now become an autonomous independent university. But for it to become, it is going to take maybe 4 or 5 years, and you need to undertake that journey. That journey involves many steps. It involves looking at curriculum, making sure that it is IIT standards, IIT class, and world standard, making sure that the pedagogy is world class, and making sure that the infrastructure is very good, and making sure that students get enough opportunities for pursuit of higher studies and research and so on, and making sure that laboratory equipment are of very high standard. So in many areas, improvements are required. And UVC is actually well positioned to do that. Because UVC has had a very good reputation over a period of number of years. And it has a very good faculty. They are very dedicated and very loyal and very sincere people. It's got infrastructure which is not so good. It's a bit old, it's outdated. It's got laboratory equipment and facilities which are not so up to date. So there are many areas one needs to attempt to improve UVCE, but I'm sure it will get done over a period of 5-6 years.
Okay, that's very nice to hear. So I'm pretty sure it may be an eye opener to a few listeners who may be tuning in, not quite sure what the autonomous UVC is going to do. But yeah, I think as you said, with over the course of time, it's definitely going to improve.
Let me give you an example. Mm-hmm. For example, in the US, many universities are independent autonomous universities, where the funding, for example, they have got financial autonomy, but in spite of being a financial autonomy, the funding comes to generally 1/3 or so from the government, around 1/3 from endowments and alumni and so on, and really about 1/3 comes from student fees and other research programs and so on. And then all the decisions in terms of finance and where to invest, what curriculum to set, what salaries to pay to teachers, what pedagogy to adopt, all this, what infrastructure to create over a period of time, what courses to teach. All that is decided by the director of the institute and the senate and so on, and we're supported by a board of governors. And the government has already formed a board of governors, of which I am the chairman, 8 other members of the board, including the principal secretary, additional chief secretary, higher education of government of Karnataka.
Okay. So definitely really good things lie in store for UVC. So we in fact recently heard that a new director has been appointed. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, director selection process was a very exhaustive process where we had invited applications for the post of director, and there were 45 applications. The government appointed a search selection committee headed by Professor Atre, Professor Vasudev Atre, the Padma Bhushan and leading scientist of Karnataka. We had Professor Damodar Acharya, former director of IIT Kharagpur, as a member. We had Mrs. Nayanatara from Institute of Management, Bangalore, as a 3-member selection committee. They screened 45 candidates. They shortlisted 11 of them. They interviewed 11 of them in great amount of detail for their scholastic record, for their management skills, for their leadership qualities, and for their administrative experience, and a whole bunch of traits which they were looking for in a director. because this post of a director of UVCE is very crucial, and especially as the first director of the institute. So the person has been selected. He happens to be from IIT Bombay. I don't want to reveal the name yet because we have not announced it. As soon as he decides the date of his joining, I will announce the name at the appropriate time. He's going to join in the next few weeks' time, and I expect, and he's a very high caliber professional, and we expect a lot from him to help transform this place into an IIT-like institution.
That's very nice to hear, sir, to have someone leading the institution who has, a tremendous industry experience as well as a background in IIT Bombay. I think UVC will definitely be in good hands. Sir, you've been the chairman of the board of governors of many eminent institutions, IIT Kharagpur, XLRI, NIT Jamshedpur, among many others. So obviously there the system is already set up. And here the challenge is different. You're setting up a system from scratch. So could you compare and contrast the two experiences?
No, the UVC job of transformation is a far more challenging job than leading an institute like XLRI or NIT Jamshedpur or even IIT Kharagpur, because they're all well-established institutions. There are systems and processes very much in place. The funding is very much in place. All that you have to do is to make sure that governance is proper, and that is the job of the chairman of these boards. In the case of UVCE, there is a transformation involved. There is a major transformation involved in every single aspect of running of UVCE. And the board of governors, the government of Karnataka has chosen an excellent bunch of people to be on the board of governors. They're all very highly qualified people, highly talented people. They have achieved great things in life. And the responsibility of the chairman and the BOG is really much more than in an institution which is up and running already. This is a similar case to that happened in Pune Engineering College several years ago. When it was from a government college, it was transformed into an autonomous, independent institute to make sure that it becomes like IIT standard. In many ways, Pune Engineering College has been a great success. And I still remember my former colleague, F.C. Kohli, was the first chairman of Pune Engineering College in its new avatar of autonomous independent university. And he did a marvelous job to transform that university, that Pune Engineering College, into a top-class university. We need to do something very similar. And I look forward to working with the UVC staff, UVC faculty, UVC, the new director and the existing principal and interim director, all of whom are really good people for carrying on this journey of transformation.
Right, sir. So that's very nice to hear. There's a lot of work. I know there's a lot on your plate. In fact, I think when you had visited Marvel, the Marvel R&D lab, the alumni-sponsored R&D lab in college, I just put forth the idea to record this Chronicles, and at that point you had just joined college, so there's a lot on your plate, and there still is a lot to learn, a lot to do. So in your opinion, what is the role of good quality research in the growth of an academic institution, and how can we foster it?
Yeah, before I come to research, I must also inform everybody that it is important for everyone to remember that while UVC has become an autonomous independent institute, it is still a government-owned college. The ownership of the university is still with the Karnataka government, and I expect a lot of contribution from Karnataka government in terms of not only funding, but in terms of helping to provide good infrastructure, good equipment, and enabling the process of transformation. The government has a big role to play. And I'm hoping that the government of Karnataka has always been education friendly, and I want and expect excellent cooperation from the government of Karnataka. Coming to research, research is extremely important for a country to make progress in every field of endeavor as a nation. Research in scientific research is extremely important. We need to focus more and more on research. But just now, I would like to focus the UVC's efforts in the first few years on building solid undergraduate education and slowly moving up the ladder to master's courses, PhD courses. I know already these courses are already on in UVCE, but I think we need to start with an initial focus on the undergraduate programs, do well there, make sure that our students, when they come out of the college, are well-rounded experts, specialists, and also people of high quality rather than merely one-sided engineers.
Right. So, sir, you said a solid undergraduate education. So, what would that comprise of?
No, that comprises of, it depends on what engineering you choose to pursue in your studies. Fundamental knowledge of engineering as to why things happen in the way that it happens, analytical ability, questioning, a mind that questions everything, and a mind that explores various avenues, various possible solutions. And that's the job of an engineer, to do fundamental thinking on how things work.
Sir, all right, sir. So you've been a avid golfer and a cricketer, and you've also led the IIT Madras cricket team. So do you think sports is an integral part of academics, and what are a few key takeaways from your experience in sports?
Sports is an extremely important and integral part of development of human beings. It's extremely important. And it is not only sports, it also music and arts and fine arts, and many of these softer skills are extremely important. When we talk of engineers, when we talk of scientists, when we talk of technical competence, it doesn't mean they are always possess only technical competence and only engineers and only scientific mind. They also need to have a right brain approach, which comes from introspection, reflection. It comes from thinking. It comes from music. It comes from sports. These things play a very important part in the development of human mind. Just to give you an example, I don't know how many of you will remember, how many, I'm sure students who would have read it. We had one Steve Jobs, who is unfortunately no longer alive, who was the founder of Apple. He once said, I quote, he said, look, Macintosh is a great product only because the people who invented Macintosh were musicians and artists, in addition to being good software engineers. It's very important to realize that a combination of qualities is extremely important for a good functioning mind, which is why where the new education policy comes into the picture, which tries to lay more emphasis on all-round education than simply becoming specialists. Becoming all-round specialist does not mean that the sacrifice of specialists, and specialist does not mean only a single-sided personality. So we need to pay attention to in curriculum to all these aspects of education, whether it is sports, or whether it is music, or whether it is fine arts, or whether it is architecture. These are very important aspects of human development. And an outstanding doctor is also outstanding at some softer skills. An outstanding surgeon will be outstanding in some other softer skills other than surgeon. It's very important, and that's where I lay great emphasis on sports.
Very true, sir. I also support the idea of an all-round education. In fact, I play the piano, and it's quite, not just is it a space for me to explore my creativity, it is also a space for me to, again, as you said, have a right side brain approach.
Correct. For example, just to give you an example, long time back, I think in the mid-80s or late 80s, I attended a program in the National Institute of Advanced Studies. The National Institute of Advanced Studies, which is now located in Institute of Science, Bangalore campus, it started in Pune at the Tata Management Training Center in Pune. And I was the first batch of leadership development program. That leadership development program, it's called the Leadership Development Program. It had subjects like philosophy. It had subjects like music. It had subjects like Rig Veda. It had subjects like yoga. It had the interpretation of Western classical music. It had interpretation of Indian music. It had interpretation of fine arts and its connectivity to leadership. So it had many aspects of leadership which normally we don't associate with, we think only education means studies of textbooks and, gathering scientific knowledge and so on. In fact, your scientific knowledge will get even better honed and you will use it much better if you have the right state of the brain also developed properly.
Right, sir. I couldn't agree more. So you have so many responsibilities. I think if I just Google you, I find you're the chairman of the board of this and that, and there's a lot of responsibilities you have. So how do you manage your time? I'm just curious to know.
Actually, I don't manage it very well.
Okay.
You see, one thing which is very important is to have a life partner who supports you in all your efforts. For example, my wife, Mrs. Sumati Muthuraman, has been enormous help in my sort of career development and career goals and meeting my aspirations and so on. She has taken care of what people call as work-life balance. She took care of my life. She took care of the lives of our family and children and so on. And I took care of my work. And I think that's how we sort of, jokingly, I used to say that is how I struck my work-life balance. So it's very important for you to have avenues of stress relief, whether it is sports and music. These are very extremely important in leading a balanced life. You must have other interests in life, other hobbies in life, whether it is golf or cricket or music or fine arts or painting or playing piano or playing mridangam and so on. These are reading or watching movies or conversations. These are as important part of life as work itself. And this actually enhances the quality of work that you can do.
Right. I think the right kind of support definitely matters because I think I've met a few alumni who have probably worked in, the defense sector, and life out there is quite tough. And I think one of the oldest living alumnus, Brigadier H.R. Gopal, he's from the 1940s batch. We had done a small interview with him. It was just 5 minutes long. But he while he was away most of the time, it was his wife at home who brought up their children, and the three of them have performed phenomenally well. In fact, leading, I think one of his children was like leading the American Psychiatry Association. One studied at Cambridge and then was in the United Nations. So yeah, it's very much necessary to have good support in life.
Yeah, this is very much true in my life.
So, sir, I think as one trend we students notice is when you join college, obviously the enthusiasm is absolutely high. Everyone wants to take part in all the events. And then as you progress from year 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, obviously you notice general enthusiasm drop. I mean, it's one thing to just lead your life, but you've led it for so long and kept that enthusiasm high. So what do you think is your driving factor?
I don't know, but one of the very important characteristics of successful, if I may say so, executives, I don't know that I've been that successful an executive, but what I've seen in successful executive is very high energy levels. And sort of childlike enthusiasm in doing everything. You need to be intensely interested and passionate about what you're doing. If you're passionate about what you do, you will do that job well. If you're not passionate and if you do the energy levels, you're not going to do that job very well. And so that is very important. The energy and passion and keeping a childlike enthusiasm to find out how things are happening. Keeping up reading. Again, I lean on sports. For example, some of my most difficult and challenging days in Tata Steel are the time that I picked up golf as a game and started playing more and more golf when things were difficult, and that gave me a lot of relief. So that's how you sort of keep the energy level up all the time.
Right. So when faced with, I'm sure you've led a huge company like Tata Steel, and there are a lot of decisions that come to your table, and when you face like a difficult decision, it's most of the time we all get scared, panicked, and then probably end up making the wrong decision. So what is your approach to making decisions? That's one of the biggest job in leadership.
Leadership has two dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
One is what I would call as the visionary dimension, a dimension which enables a person to envision his future, to envision his company's future. It enables people to think about their employees. It enables you to empower employees. It enables you to energize them. This is what is called the visionary dimension, which comes largely from a right brain strength. Then there is an architectural dimension, which is to do with process and systems and procedures and scientific approach and systematic approach, logical thinking and so on. This comes from the left side of the brain. Mm-hmm. And a good leader must possess both these. And it is very rarely actually people have a good balance between the right brain, between the visionary dimension and the architectural dimension. Many people are very action-oriented, which is the architectural dimension of a person. There are many people which are only dreamers, and if you just dream and if you don't act, that is merely passing the time. And if you act and if you don't dream, you will make a lot of mistakes. So you need a good balance between the two. And if you find that you don't have that good balance in yourself, then you need to make sure that in your top management team, you have people of different caliber, different personalities, different types, so that the whole team is balanced and not necessarily only individuals. This is a very important aspect of selecting leaders for selecting people for leadership positions.
Right. I think that very much applies to even a small scale setup like Marvel. We have so many students who have varied interests, all of them having their own unique style of approaching problems, and that really helps contribute to the general development of the lab. It really does, because sometimes you sort of face a situation where probably you have no clue, you are at a dead end, but another person with his or her perspective is able to completely change that and show you a new horizon altogether.
Yeah, it's also important to have, if you have a team of people with whom you work, it's important to have people in your team who are different, who have different approaches. There should be some engineers, there should be some non-engineers, there should be some left-brain people, there should be some right-brain people. It should be a mixture of variety of qualities. If you pack up your team with only yes men and people who all think alike, think somewhat like you, and you want to take quick decisions because everybody says yes to what you're saying, then I think that team is doomed. You need to have people who will context you, who will differ with you, who will give opposing views, and that team may take a little more time for decision making, but those decisions will be wholesome and very sound.
Very true, sir. So now, since you're setting up the institution, again, there'll be a lot of tasks pending, there are a lot of things to do in the roster. Is there any way the alumni or the students can help out with contributing to UVCE's success story?
Alumni in any university, in any educational institute, the alumni plays an extremely important part. They are a big stakeholder in any educational system. And it is not only education. They need to be connected to the university, give their ideas in terms of course content, in terms of pedagogy, maybe lend their time and effort to come and talk to the youngsters, share their experiences, and of course contribute in terms of financial resources also. As I mentioned a little while ago, in the US universities, the alumni funding is automatically given. It is understood and it is given for granted that an alumni passing out of Harvard or Stanford or any of these institutes will contribute a substantial sum of his earnings after some years to the institutions which made him what he is today. And alumni have a big role to play. Recognizing this, in fact, the BOG of Board of Governors of UVCE has 2 alumni in its board There are 2 people from the alumni who are on the board, and I believe that out of 8, 2 numbers are very good. If possible, we would in fact even like to increase the number of alumni, because alumni have a great opportunity and a great potential, and their interest in UVCE, their interest in the institution where they have passed out is more than probably any other stakeholder.
Very true, sir. In fact, I've constantly worked with the alumni. I'm an alumni activities coordinator, and it's quite heartening to see not just alumni, obviously just revisiting college, sharing a few memories, but the obvious conversation that follows with them is, probably how they can help out. They're very interested to know how they can play a small role in a college that has played such a huge part in their life.
Yeah, that's correct. For example, I have plans. It is probably a little bit too early to even talk about the plans. I have a plan to invite all the alumni to Bangalore one day and have a conversation with them, or at least in conversation with groups of people as to how they can contribute, share my thoughts and my experiences. I've been an alumni of IIT Madras for a number of years. I passed out in 1966. So it is now 57 years since I passed out from IIT Madras. I am still in the Alumni Association. And I think IIT Madras has a wonderful alumni of people who have contributed greatly to IIT Madras's strength and prosperity and growth. And alumni, I'm sure, have great ideas as to what is to be done in the college and what is to be taught and how they can contribute. So I really plan to have one of these days in the near future. I plan to have an alumni meet in Bangalore where we can talk to everybody, listen to alumni, and listen to what they are saying about the future of how to build up institute is something where I would like to listen to what they are saying.
Definitely, sir. That's a really good step in the right direction. In fact, I'd just like to point out that somewhere in 2010-11, there was something called the Mega Reunion, and that was where it happened in Palace Grounds. And all the alumni globally were invited. In fact, B.V. Jagdish sir, who's one of the members of the Board of Governors, as well as Mano Murthy sir, they'd all come from the US. A lot of alumni from the US and India, and it was a huge event. And there were multiple panel discussions, in fact, pertaining to different things. That is probably catering to the present needs of the institute, again, back in that time. And also, I think Atre sir had led a panel on research. So these videos, they're available on a YouTube channel called UVCE News. It's there. It's archived and it's there. So I think you can also check that out, sir.
Yeah, I will do that. I may also mention to you that Mr. B.V. Jagdish, whose name you mentioned just now, is actually currently on a Board of Governors in the Board of Governors of UVCE. And we have another person called Narendra Kumar, who is the ex-Air Chief Marshal of the Indian Air Force. So we have these 2 people on the board. So I know B.V. Jagdish is in the US, and I'm going to take his help as well as the help of lots of other people to connect with the alumni and get for UVCE the best of what alumni can offer in terms of resources and their time and their ideas and so on.
Yes, sir. That sounds wonderful. Sir, if you don't mind, can I offer a suggestion?
Please.
Yeah, sir. One thing I think there are a lot of aspects we tend to focus on, and that's necessary. Obviously when the building an institution, but something that we have very less focus on in comparison to other institutions is building the brand of UVC, and probably making it a little more visible. Obviously, when people hear UVC, they know, okay, there is this UVC. They're initially a little apprehensive. They don't know what it is, and then once they go ahead and check out the background, they're immediately drawn to the institution. So I feel UVC should definitely have a sort of publicity cell. Again, not immediately, but somewhere down the line.
No, you are 100% correct. I agree with you, and it's very important. Many years ago, UVC had a brand on its own, but those are initial days and early years. And now, with the threshold noise of many things in the world having gone up, you need to be raising above that threshold level to be able to be more visible and more looking good to the people's eyes and minds. And therefore, a brand building exercise and a publicity is extremely important. I am very conscious of that.
Right, because for most of the students who make that decision, they're making the decision to pick a college and then pick a branch. They typically think, just look at what their friend is doing. Okay, their friend says so and so college is good, this particular branch is good. They just blindly pick that college. So that's generally the mindset with which students typically pick. There's only a handful of students who probably do a lot of diligent research before they actually pick an institution. And again, having a good brand would definitely add to attracting higher quality students.
I agree with you. And IIT, for example, the name IIT is a great brand.
Correct.
It is now a universal brand. So UVC has to become a brand like IIT in the years to come.
Yes, sir. And I'm pretty sure that all the students, they have been, in fact, they're very active in the college. I'm so sure you've interacted with a lot of them, be it at the placement office, IEEE, Marvel, Adamya, all these clubs and societies, they're very active. So we'll be more than happy to stand by the Board of Governors in elevating our institution in any manner.
Thank you. The students of UVCE are the biggest assets that UVCE has got. I've met lots of students. I've had interactions with them. They are very high energy and highly committed people, and people who deserve a higher better infrastructure, better equipment, and better facilities, and so on. And we must tap the full advantage of the high potential students that we have in UVCE.
Yes, sir. Very much so. I think that brings me to the end of my questions. If you have any questions for me, I'd be more than happy to answer that.
No, I have no questions except that I want to appeal to all the alumni once again that please feel free to write to me, contact the director of UVCE, and whatever information that you want, we will give it to you. And I'm looking forward to your support, your collaboration, your support in terms of both your time and resources and ideas and so on. And I want to wish alumni all great success. And UVC has been responsible in some way in making what you are today. And I think, I'm sure you would like to see UVC grow from strength to strength in the coming years and become a really top-class technical education institution.
That's a wonderful message, sir. I hope the alumni definitely hear and respond. I'm sure they will. After all, it's an alma mater that has contributed to who they are and what they've become. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode, Muthuraman sir. It's been an absolute pleasure to interact with you. Obviously, you gave a lot of insights as well, and obviously a huge thank you to all our listeners who have joined in. We wish you, Muthuraman sir, all the best for all your future endeavors, and we are here. All the students, the alumni, the faculty, we're here to support you as you lead our institution towards autonomy. For the listeners, do feel free to reach out to us on Instagram, that is at Vision UVCE. Thank you once again, Muthuraman sir. Do have a pleasant evening.
Thank you. It is great to be talking to you. It's wonderful to be associated with the UVCE. Thank you so much.